Before the auctions, before the fame, and before the lights, Laura Dotson lived a story few fans have ever truly heard. A gavel strikes, a voice echoes, and another deal is done. For millions of viewers, that sound meant one thing. Storage wars had begun, and at the center of it all stood a woman whose steady confidence and golden smile became the heartbeat of the show. Laura Dotson wasn't just an auctioneer's wife or a TV personality. She was the calm in the storm, the voice that could cut through the chaos of bids and egos. But behind that polished composure was a life shaped by grit, loss, and a determination that started long before reality television ever called her name. Laura was born in Southern California, a region where the sun never hides, but dreams often do. Growing up, she wasn't surrounded by glitz or glamour, just the rhythm of everyday life. Family, work, and a quiet fascination with the fast-talking world of auctions. Long before the cameras rolled, she learned the power of pace, of timing, of reading a room. And yet, no one could have guessed that the young girl from the valley would one day become one of the most recognizable auctioneers in the world. Her journey began not with fame, but with partnership, both personal and professional. In the mid-1990s, Laura met Dan Dotson, a seasoned auctioneer with a voice that could fill a stadium. What started as a business relationship quickly evolved into something deeper. They shared not just a profession, but a purpose to build something lasting, something entirely their own. Together, they launched American Auctioneers, a family-run company that specialized in estate and storage sales. It wasn't glamorous work. It meant long drives, unpredictable crowds, and endless days under the California sun. But it was honest. It was theirs. What set Laura apart wasn't just her talent, it was her presence. She carried herself with a grace that balanced Dan's rapid-fire calls. Where he was thunder, she was clarity. The woman with the clipboard, the poised authority who could spot a fake bid or calm a heated crowd with just a look. Viewers of Storage Wars would later know her for her trademark phrase, "Don't forget to pay the lady." But those words represented far more than a line. They were the rhythm of a career built on integrity and precision. By the early 2000s, their business had grown beyond expectation. The couple became fixtures at major auctions across the state, their chemistry undeniable. But success wasn't just about money or fame. For Laura, it was about proving that in a male-dominated world of fast talkers and hustlers, a woman could not only keep up, she could lead. And soon, that quiet ambition would take her somewhere she never expected. The spotlight of one of television's biggest reality hits. It was 2010, and reality television was in its golden age, a time when the ordinary could become extraordinary overnight. Producers at A&E were searching for a new kind of show, something raw, unpredictable, and addictive. They stumbled upon the world of abandoned storage lockers, places where forgotten lives sat behind locked doors, waiting to be rediscovered. And that's when they met Dan and Laura Dotson. From the moment the cameras rolled, there was something magnetic about them. Dan's voice ricocheted through the chaos of bidding wars, while Laura stood beside him, commanding the crowd with calm precision. Her steady smile, her poised confidence, they weren't rehearsed, they were real. Together, they didn't just auction off storage units. They orchestrated them like a symphony. Every glance, every gesture carried rhythm and timing. The show, titled Storage Wars, premiered to modest expectations. But within weeks, it became a cultural phenomenon. The premise was simple. Bidders would compete for abandoned storage units, without knowing what treasures or trash lay inside. What made it unforgettable was the people. The show wasn't about lockers. It was about personalities, ambition, and the thrill of risk. Laura, though not always at the center of the drama, became the show's moral compass. When tempers flared or egos clashed, she was the calm voice that reminded everyone there were rules, boundaries, and a process. Fans loved her for that. She wasn't loud, but she didn't need to be. She represented something steady in a world that thrived on chaos. Behind the scenes, life was busier than ever. The The couple juggled filming, travel, and their business, American Auctioneers, which suddenly exploded in popularity. People who'd never been to an auction before were calling, hoping to see the lady from TV in action. Fame, though thrilling, came with its own price. Privacy became rare. Days blurred between filming and real work. Yet, through it all, Laura kept her focus, professionalism, partnership, and poise. As Storage Wars climbed the ratings, spin-offs followed: Storage Wars, Texas, Storage Wars, New York, and others. The Dotsons had become household names, symbols of a new kind of fame, reality fame. But unlike many who crumble under the weight of sudden visibility, Laura stayed grounded. She never lost sight of where she came from or why she started. To fans, she was the queen of the auction block, unshakable, composed, and endlessly professional. But to those who knew her, she was something else entirely, a woman balancing the glitter of television with the grit of real life. And that balance would soon be tested in ways no one saw coming. For years, the Dotsons' rhythm was flawless: business, filming, travel, repeat. But in 2014, that rhythm shattered without warning. One ordinary morning, Dan complained of a headache. Minutes later, he collapsed. The man whose voice had filled auction yards for decades could barely speak. Laura called emergency services, her voice trembling but steady, trying to hold herself together as paramedics rushed him away. At the hospital, doctors delivered news that stopped time. Dan had suffered not one but 2 brain aneurysms, one behind his eye and another in his neck. The prognosis was uncertain. Surgery was risky. For days, Laura barely left his side. She slept in waiting rooms, lived on coffee, and refused to think about life without him. This wasn't a scene for television. There were no cameras, no scripts, only the quiet hum of machines and the weight of fear pressing against her chest. In interviews years later, Laura admitted that moment changed her. She realized how fragile everything really was: the fame, the business, even the illusion of control. But she also discovered something else: resilience. When Dan eventually woke, disoriented but alive, Laura became his anchor. She managed the business, coordinated his medical care, and somehow still found time to smile for fans who stopped her in grocery stores asking when the show would return. The truth was, she didn't know. All she knew was that she wasn't giving up. Months passed. Against the odds, Dan began to recover. His speech returned. His laughter returned. And slowly so did their life. Through it all, Laura stood firm, not as a TV star or an auctioneer, but as a wife, a partner, and a survivor. When Storage Wars resumed filming, fans noticed something different about her. There was still that radiant confidence, but beneath it, a new depth, the kind that only comes from walking through fire and coming out whole. She'd seen the edge of loss and learned the meaning of gratitude. It's easy to watch reality TV and forget the reality behind it. For Laura Dotson, the cameras caught her strength, but they could never capture the quiet nights of fear or the steady faith that kept her moving forward. The show's world went on spinning. More bidders, more drama, more headlines, but for Laura, everything had changed. The woman who once stood beside the mic now stood taller than ever, her resolve unshakable, her perspective transformed. When Storage Wars returned, it wasn't just another season. It felt like a homecoming. Fans were eager to see familiar faces, but their attention quickly turned to Laura. There she was again, standing beside Dan, poised and ready, her signature sunglasses reflecting the California sun. Her presence carried a different kind of weight now. She wasn't just the co-auctioneer. She was the symbol of endurance. The show had changed since its early days. The world had, too. Streaming had reshaped how people watch television, and new generations were discovering Storage Wars not on cable, but through throwback clips on TikTok and YouTube. Yet Laura's charisma remained timeless. No matter the platform, her energy, that blend of kindness and command, pulled people in. Behind the scenes, she continued to run American Auctioneers and their online venture, storageauctions.net, bridging the gap between the old-school auction world and the digital era. While others chased trends or reinvented their image, Laura stayed true to what she knew best: hard work and honesty. But even as she embraced success, Laura never forgot what nearly broke her. She became more open about the challenges that come with life in the spotlight: the exhaustion, the public scrutiny, and the need to stay grounded when the world keeps demanding more. She spoke about the importance of balance, of cherishing small moments over fleeting fame. For viewers, watching her on screen again felt different. Her smile was familiar, but now it carried history, a quiet understanding that behind every sold was a story of survival. The once simple act of closing a deal had become a statement of gratitude. She was still here, still thriving, still the lady fans remembered. Through the show's ups and downs, cast departures, and constant speculation, Laura and Dan remained constants. Their chemistry, sharp, teasing, and endlessly professional, became the emotional backbone of Storage Wars. While others came and went, the Dotsons stayed, representing the heart of the show. Even now, when new episodes air, longtime fans can sense that connection, not just between the husband and wife behind the microphone, but between the Dotsons and the audience that grew up watching them. In a world obsessed with fame, Laura had quietly turned hers into something rarer: respect. Looking back now, Laura Dotson's journey feels less like a story of television fame and more like a testament to quiet resilience. She never needed to be the loudest voice in the room to make an impact. Her strength came from composure, from knowing when to speak, when to smile, and when to simply let grace do the talking. In a world where reality stars come and go, Laura stands as proof that authenticity never fades. The woman who once stood beside a microphone on dusty auction grounds became a symbol of persistence, professionalism, and partnership. Her legacy isn't just tied to Storage Wars. It's woven into every person who watched her lead with dignity and kindness. Behind every bid, every sold, and every moment of calm and chaos, Laura Dotson showed us what true poise looks like, and why real strength never needs to shout.